Hello and welcome to round 11 of the 2013 AFIA Indycar Series, coming to you from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve circuit on the Ile Notre Dame man-made island in Montreal, Canada. And this should pose as an interesting comparison between the Indycars and the FF1M cars to see how much slower or quicker they may be. Just for reference, the fastest lap on the 2013 FF1M season came from Jenson Button, and that was a 1 minute 16.302. So it'll be interesting to see the time difference. The last race saw Ryan Hunter-Reay take his first victory of the season, Ilmore's first as an engine supplier in the IndyCar series. Scott Dixon might have started from pole position, but he had a bit of a torrid race, retiring in the end of it. Nevertheless, he still leads the championship by 22 points from Will Power, and a further 9 from Juan Pablo Montoya. Those three are expected to be the main championship contenders for the rest of the season. 2 and 3 stops expected once again. This seems almost mandatory. Laps 12 and 15, laps 28 and 31 for the 2 stoppers, and then laps 9 to 11, 21 to 23 and 32 to 34 for the 3 stoppers. Ultimately, it was the 3-stop strategy that paid off at Road America, utilised brilliantly by Ryan Hunter-Reay. Only 43 laps for this race, so it's about 2/3 of the distance, probably a bit more than that compared to the FF1M race of about 69 to 70 laps. Will Power took pole position for Willow's Indy ahead of Helio Castroneves, who set the fastest lap last time out at Road America. The gap between those two is a 1/10 of a second, and look at that, pole position is 1 minute 20. So assuming that fastest laps are about 2 to 3 seconds off pole position, then IndyCars are about 7 seconds slower than FF1M. Interesting. So, 5 lights go on, usual pause, and the 5 lights go out, and it looks like Will Power has got the best start. Indeed he has. Can Castroneves do anything about it? No, he can't, because he's got Joseph Newgarden coming up alongside him as they round the first couple of corners. That will be the Lepingle corner. Now into the right-left chicane, as Will Power is building up a big lead already from Castroneves, who's holding second and is 7/10 behind the Aussie. Joseph Newgarden is 1.6 seconds behind at the first split. And we've got Oriol Servier, Simon Pagenaud, Ed Carpenter, and then completing the top 10, Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti, Charlie Kimball and Tony Kanaan. And there's incidents aplenty going on at the chicane. Who was that ran wide? Was it Wilson or was it Hinchcliffe? They're both together, and I think it was Hinchcliffe who made the mistake. No, it was Wilson, in fact, because Hinchcliffe is now up to 12th position behind Ryan Briscoe for the Aresta Racing Ilmore. Now then, on lap 2, and it looks like Castroneves has got a bit of an advantage at this stage because he is powering past Will Power for the lead, and that's going into the final chicane, the Wall of Champions corner. There's Newgarden, Servier in the background, and these two continue their battle going into Lepingle, the first couple of corners. Rounding the left and then the tighter right. There's the pit exit as well. Dixon has got past Ed Carpenter at some point as well, but I presume that will be going into the final chicane. Might be going into turn 1, because he's now up to 6th position ahead of the Newman Haas driver, as these two are getting quite close at the casino hairpin. Now, we saw FF1M struggle with gear ratios on this particular race in 2013. Looks like there's no such problems so far because Will Power is in the slipstream and he's getting up alongside Castroneves going into the Wall of Champions chicane, outbraking the Brazilian, and that's first place once again. I think Castroneves might have cut the chicane, and if he's not careful he's got Joseph Newgarden coming up alongside him at any point, but I think Castroneves has got it this time. It's a bit of a mouthful, is that name? But look at this, they're still battling with each other, so Castroneves really has got a pace advantage at this stage. Quite evenly matched, I would say. And they're quite closely run at the moment. Their pit stop strategies most likely will change all of that. As we enjoy a classic slipstream manoeuvre on board with Castroneves going into the Wall of Champions. Power trying to do something about it on the first apex, but didn't quite work out. If both of these are on the same strategy, then This could be very interesting to see who out of Castroneves and Power will prevail. We're having a look at Simon Pagenaud making a move on Oriol Servia. As now we can have a look at Dixon, who's making a move on Pagenaud. Whoa, we've got... Look at what's going on there. I think Servia has got a bit of an issue. And almost brake testing Dixon. And that seems to... It's normal service regime. So it was instigated by Oriol Servia going bizarrely slowly, going down the back straight. And that seemed to catch out... Pagenaud mostly, because he jumped the chicane. Yeah, Servia's definitely struggling at the moment. I don't know what with, as Dixon's having a look around the outside, going into turns 8 and 9. This is the chicane halfway around the lap. In the slipstream going into the casino hairpin, it doesn't look close enough. Now he is close enough, and Servia choosing to defend aggressively on the inside. Now, what's going to happen on this back straight? Let's name some of these corners, shall we? It's down the back straight. That doesn't really need naming, and the Wall of Champions chicane has already been named. Should name one of these corners after Villeneuve, whichever one you fancy. Well, the entire circuit's named after Gilles Villeneuve, as Servia cuts the chicane, and Dixon's trying to do something about it on this front straight, but that's not worked because Simon Pagenaud is coming up alongside him, and look at that, Ed Carpenter trying to make a move on the outside as well, but Dixon holding that one off. So Pagenaud the net winner there, regaining 5th position, which is where he started. And a lock-up again for Servia. He's really struggling with the car at the moment. If he is two-stopping, then that would make a bit of sense, because he's a mobile chicane at this very moment. Now is Pagenaud going to do something about Servia on this back straight? He's in the slipstream, but so is Dixon in the slipstream of both of them. As we go on board with the twister kick of Pagenaud up the inside now into the chicane. What's Servia going to do about it? I don't think he can do much. And that was a bit fraught under braking, but it's gone to Pagenaud in the end. Should have enough of a gap going into turn 1 as we have a look at Ed Carpenter looking to make a move on Scott Dixon going into the first corner. But that's not going to work. Now Dixon is going to have a move on Oriol Servia. Going to the 8 and 9 chicane. Look at that! What a move from Scott Dixon round the outside under braking. That's the corner where Coulthard spun off in the real life 1995 Canadian Grand Prix, as the first pit stop is underway. Helio Castroneves into his pit box. Is anybody else going to follow suit? There's quite a few mechanics out, and one of them is Scott Dixon as he comes into the pits. As out of the pits at the same time comes Helio Castroneves. He's going to rejoin. If he rejoins ahead of Servia, then that's a very good first stint. Very unusual pit exit, and Castroneves, he's got Servia. As James Hinchcliffe comes into the pits, as does Ryan Briscoe. So the first pit stop's well and truly underway at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. So Castroneves needs a good outlap if he's going to rejoin in front of Will Power. As Will Power is on the back straight now, is he going to pit this lap? Let's find out. Does he go straight or does he go through the right-left? He goes straight, so Will Power in for his first of 3 stops. And where's Newgarden? Is he going to take the lead? He is, so Newgarden continuing for another lap. If he goes on for another few more laps, then Newgarden may be on a 2-stop strategy. Pagenaud continues as well. As out the pits in 7 seconds comes Will Power, and Castroneves is going to be miles ahead. Even accounting for this weird pit exit. I think he should get Servia though, so Will Power can make chase on Helio Castroneves. How far behind is he? Well, he's not that far behind actually, so it's about 2 seconds. But Castroneves will be in a net lead once Newgarden and Pagenaud make their pit stops. As we have a look at James Hinchcliffe versus Dario Franchitti into the first corner. Frankie T on the harder Blackwall tyres, and stopped has come Charlie Kimball. So there's a mechanical problem for him. The American, I'm not sure whereabouts in America he's from. I want to say Kansas, but I might have got that completely wrong. Briefly raced in British F3 at one point. And I just remember him spinning off in the wet at Croft. And it was confirmed to be a gearbox failure for Kimball. As Simon Pagenaud comes into the pits for his first stop. Lap 13 out of 43. He's being held because Connor Daly is coming down the pits. So it's not a good stop for Simon Pagenaud. And Newgarden's still out in the lead at the moment, so he must be two-stopping. Pagenaud might be two-stopping as well. So let's see how these strategies turn out. And very briefly at the moment, here comes Joseph Newgarden. He's going to be pitting this lap on those harder tyres. So a two-stop strategy should work out okay for him. Meanwhile, we've got Ed Carpenter in 6th. Tony Kanan's briefly up to 5th for the FJI Ewing. Who had a pretty dismal time of it last time at Road America. Both drivers finished way down the field. I'll tell you exactly where. 16th and 17th for Hinchcliffe and Kanan. So something wasn't working for them. Mostly the drivers, in fact. Kanan did get involved in that incident where he took out Scott Dixon at Canada Corner. Just creamed into the back of him. And then Dixon went into the barriers. All Kanan's fault. Through the 3 and 4 chicane. And he's crashed! Who on earth are we on board with? Is that Oriel Servia? He's going to pull off the circuit. It is Servia. He has crashed out of the race at turns 3 and 4. That'll be at Stroll Corner. And just trying to get up the inside of Ryan Hunter-Ray is... Who is that? Is that Juan Pablo Montoya? It is indeed, giving him a nudge as he rounds that corner. Now onto the back straight. Ryan Hunter-Ray is going to try and do something about that. He's not particularly happy with the Colombian. As they brake hard for the chicane, Hunter-Ray gets back 9th position as Montoya cuts the chicane. Both are behind Tony Kanaan at this point. Hinchcliffe's up to 7th position, so his earlier pit stop has worked out very well. Now we're having a look at Justin Wilson. He's been passed by Takuma Sato, who caught the Brit napping. And now Sato's at it again. He's going to try and get Ed Carpenter going into the hairpin, but Carpenter was late on the brakes. And still in 12th position is the Japanese driver in the Super Best Friends Honda. Now in the slipstream, that's a good run. Going to the chicane, Carpenter tries to defend, but Sato's having none of that. And he's into the pits, in fact, so giving Carpenter a good old chop as he heads into his pits for what must be his second stop. Slightly unusual 3-stop strategy if you're on the harder tyres. But it seemed to work out okay towards the end. Should talk a bit more about the leaders. We've got Castro Neves, who's just made a pit stop, in fact. Good timing. As has Will Power, so they're both pitting on the same lap this time. And now Joseph Newgarden retakes the lead on what I'm pretty sure is a 2-stop strategy. Simon Pagenaud. Now this is important. He's now split Castro Neves and Power. So this has worked out very well for Elio Castro Neves. Now he can make chase on Joseph Newgarden. At the moment he's 11.6 seconds behind. So he needs to push in this particular stint if he's going to catch and pass Newgarden. I suspect he's going to have to do it on track. Here's Will Power, who's going to have a look at Simon Pagenaud for 3rd position. And meanwhile we've got Tony Kanaan, who's up in 5th position. I'm pretty sure on a 2-stop strategy. Dixon 6th, Carpenter 7th. That's Connor Daly, that's in 8th position, so he's had a cracking race from 22nd on the grid. 22nd and last. Power moves up to 3rd, just about makes the chicane. And I don't think Pagenaud did. Meanwhile, Castro Neves is flying on his 3rd set of reds. as we have a look at James Hinchcliffe, also on the Reds, passing Ed Carpenter, who is also on the Reds. And now Hinchcliffe just about made the chicane. I wondered if he was going to make a pit stop, but not this time. That's 7th position for the mayor, self-proclaimed mayor of Hingetown. And who's behind Carpenter? It'll be Dario Franchitti in 9th position. Townsend Bell is 10th. So Connor Daly must have made his 2nd stop. As we have a look at Joseph Newgarden, who is coming under pressure from Cash Neves, who has just slashed the 11-second gap in about 6 laps. Cash Neves absolutely flying on this set of tyres. How quickly can he overtake Newgarden? And that's the important question, because Power is only 3 seconds behind this duo. They can see who's made pit stops. Newgarden just the 1, Cash Neves and Power 2, Pagenaud and Canaan just the 1 as well. Once again, it looks like the 3-stop strategy is the better one to go for. If you're at the front, which Cash Neves and Power were, but the 2-stop strategy hasn't worked out too badly, and Cash Neves having a look round the outside of 8 and 9, but that's not going to work. And we're on to a new lap. Just 4/10 is the gap between these two. It's much less than that as we go through the first sector. Look at the back of Newgarden's car when we go into this next braking zone, if we can, because Cash Neves is having a look again. But you might be able to see it here. There, you can see the red light coming on when Newgarden hits the brakes. That's a very nice feature. Cash Neves once again in the slipstream. Can he do anything going into the hairpin? He's just biding his time, and he's having a look. That's nothing working there. Oh! Did Newgarden hit the wall there? And oddly enough, Cash Neves has not got a good run. Now he's got Will Power right behind him. This is important. Can Will Power do something about Cash Neves and catch him sleeping going into the chicane? He's having a look. Cash Neves is trying to block him off. Into the final chicane. Newgarden in the pits. Cash Neves jumps the chicane. Power nearly hits the wall. And Cash Neves very, very slow going onto the front straight. And it's Will Power who takes the lead of the race. Both of these two have got another stop to make. But that was exciting. Newgarden is now in his final set of reds. Well, final set of black wall tyres, in fact. He's rejoined behind Dixon, but Dixon must have to stop again. And Pagenaud's in the pits as well, so James Hinchcliffe moves up to 5th position as these two do battle once again. Good opportunism by Will Power going into the final chicane. As we go on board with the Turn Left Development Racing, or something along the lines of that. I believe it's a subdivision of AJ Motorsports. Not close enough going into the casino hairpin, where all the crowd are watching, and Power locking up his outside wheel, oddly enough, and nearly hitting the Armco barrier just as Newgarden did the previous lap. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens at the end of the race between these two. And Power shutting the door going into the chicane. Both continue for another lap. They pitted on the same lap last time round. So it'll be interesting to see if both do the same thing again, or whether one will pit first and then the other one will wait another lap. Will we have the answer on this lap? It's lap 32 out of 43. It's Power from Cash Neves. Dixon's up to 3rd position. Newgarden 4th, but having made all his stops. Hinchcliffe is 5th, but needs to make a final stop. And Cash Neves nowhere near Power on that lap, who comes into the pits. And Cash Neves in the pits as well, so once again the fuel only taking them so far. Now it's down to the pit crews, and Power has the advantage once again because his pit box comes first. Now let's see what the Turn Left Development Racing team can do. 7.2 seconds. Power was a little bit quicker and maintains the position. Dixon takes the lead. Both have rejoined behind Joseph Newgarden. That's very interesting. Have they? Yes, they have. So Newgarden all of a sudden has the potential to win this race. Power and Castroneves, their tyres are 4 laps younger than Joseph. And Hinchcliffe, I believe, made his pit stop as well from 5th position. Now then, we look at Newgarden, who's got a 5.1 second lead over Power. How quickly can Power and Castroneves close up? Through the chicane goes Newgarden. And starting lap 35 goes Newgarden. The gap was 5.1 seconds. Was it when they started this lap, or was it going through the second sector? It must have been going through the second sector because Power only took a couple of hundredths out of him. Who we're looking at here? This is Kanaan and Dixon. It is indeed for 5th position as they go through turns 8 and 9 nearly. Dixon trying the same trick as he did early in the race, but Kanaan having none of it. Much better showing from FJR Ewing this time, both drivers in the top 7. And Kanaan defending a little bit going into the hairpin. But Dixon is in the slipstream now. Through the left kink of turn 11. It's not really a corner, but it is in the wet. Dixon well and truly in the slipstream, pulls out of it. And he's going to get alongside Kanaan going into the final chicane. He's already ahead according to the graphic. But he's backed off. What on earth was Dixon doing there? Bizarre driving from the Kiwi. And this is in fact the final lap. Joseph Newgarden has pulled an absolute blinder out of here. 2-stop strategies, clearly the way forward as he takes victory from Will Power. 5.2 seconds behind. Castroneves 3rd in the end. And Simon Pagenaud also utilising a 2-stop strategy to take 4th position. Will Power did set the fastest lap. It was a 1 minute 20.4. So, Indycars are about 4 seconds slower than FF1M. Not too bad actually. And just the rest of the top 10. Kanaan, good result for him. Dixon, Hinchcliffe, Franchitti, Carpenter and Townsend Bell complete the top 10. And key retirements there. Marco Andretti had a gearbox failure, as did Charlie Kimball. Servia crashed out, and we didn't see what happened to Frank Montagny, but it's saying it didn't finish, so I assume he crashed out as well. What will this do to the championship standings? I would expect Will Power to have chopped the gap to Dixon somewhat. It was 22 points, now it's 13 points. In the advantage of Will Power, so he has taken the championship lead. Montoya slipping back a little bit, he's 52 points behind Power now. Pagenaud 4th, the highest placed Chevrolet engined car. And next up is Newgarden, then Franchitti in the top 6. Franchitti 101 points behind Power. And then we got Bourdais, Castroneves, Kanaan and Daly completing the top 10. So that was Montreal, a very interesting race where a 2-stop strategy clearly worked out better. We shall see you for the next race.